Hey painting pals, welcome back to Mandy's Minis, and today we've got a fun one. So I've got this fantastic orc who is he's kind of with a carnival theme. That was the bundle for that month. This is, I believe, White Werewolf again. And he's a strong man fighting a mimic. So I had fun doing some tiger stripes on his costume and had a whole lot of fun doing those fantastic details in his face and the mimic's eyes and making them look pained. So I figured I would keep the fun going. So here is where I redeem myself. A few weeks ago, I had wanted to do a tattoo video and I chickened out, but here it is. We're doing it. I'm not gonna chicken out again. I actually made sure the blends weren't quite perfect and didn't do any new techniques so that I had no excuses. Like I said, I might have been a hypocrite then, but here we go. It's okay to do it, to chicken out every now and again, as long as we go forward with it. So I am using two colors. Both of them happen to be Pro Acryl. Payne's Gray is the first one. That's going to be our tattoo color. And the second one is Dark Yellow Green, and that just happens to be his midtone. So whatever your character's skin tone is, use the midtone. And what I'm going to start with is a mix. So a very small amount of the Payne's Gray into Dark Yellow Green, the midtone. That's because what I'm going to start with is an outline. All right. So what I'm going to do is a flaming skull. And we're going to do that right here on his chest. And the reason, normally I would suggest starting with something more in the back of the model, but you can see there's a lot more texture here, so that one's going to be a lot more difficult. Okay, so for this freehand, what I'm starting with is, I don't know if you can really see, you see as I put it on the model, but I'm starting with a very light, probably 2 parts skin tone to 1 part Payne's Gray. I am kind of just outlining what I'm going to be doing. So the general shapes of everything, and then I can come through and define it more later. Now, I am not the greatest freehand artist. In fact, I kind of stink at it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the worst out there. I can usually do better than a stick figure, but you know, not much. I can do a little bit better, but not by much. And I'm checking my reference photo and kind of watching. This is also why we do it in the light color, so that if we mess up, it's easier to cover up and to get back to the color it's supposed to be. So something along that line. Except, wow, is that way too white? And so now we're in a little bit of refining stage, and I can narrow this down and make it look better. I'm going to clean that up a little bit, get rid of some of these mistakes. Okay, and we still have a big mess. I have a big mess on my hands here. Yeah, I actually think I went a bit too big for the space. So now I don't really have room for fire unless it's shooting up, because, you know, the top of the skull should hit before the fire. And so that's a bit of a problem. So now I get to take it down smaller. So that's the joys of this one. So I'm going to play the back and forth game with this freehand, getting it to where I want it to be. Don't worry, I'll record it, I'll show it to you. You can see it, at least in hyperlapse, so you don't have to watch the painful struggle. And then from there, I will come back and show you the next step. So I promise this part is just going to be refining. Okay, painting pals, I'm back. And, well, I managed to make it a little smaller. Not as small as I probably should have, but that's okay. That's all right. I'm not great at this, and I'm going to show you that that's okay, and we can keep going with it. So now what I'm doing is I am making another mix, and this one is actually going to be more of a 50-50 mix, and we're going to refine it even further. So first off, eyes are going to be completely hollow, so those will be completely black. And I'm going to kind of go through and darken some of those bits that I really want to stand out more. There we go. That one looks pretty good. Which that one could match, but yeah, I can only do what I can do, right? This is really going to help up here with the flames. And then this mess down here, I had been following my reference photo, but I really didn't like it. So I kind of took it off to do my own little thing here. So give them a little more of a jawbone. And as you can see, a little more of that back and forth game. And if you've ever seen a tattoo, it does have that bluish tint. It's not quite black. So that's why we use the Payne's Gray, because it has that bluish tint to it. So it really does. This area is also messed up here. It really does end up looking, that blue hazy look. But as you can see, not too shabby for somebody who can't paint very well. I mean, I probably couldn't draw it either. Honestly, that's not too shabby. So I'm going to keep going with this. I pretty much just have a very little bit more to do. So I'm not even going to put you on hold or hyperlapse. So now I'm going to come through and essentially take that back. So that way my flames look more like an outline, like I had been initially trying to do, but wasn't liking. Now by doing it this way, I feel like it has a much better look. And then once I get this finished, we'll get into the really fun part as soon as I stop making mistakes. Of course, if we waited for that, we may never have a video. So we're going to call that there. All right. Once again, I think that's pretty good for someone who's never drawn a skull before in my life. Not one. This is officially the first skull I have ever drawn. I'm pretty proud. Okay, so now I'm just going to jump up to the full Payne's Gray. And I want to make sure I have lots of water in my brush and that I have my finest point possible. So I've got a really nice tip there, and that's because we are filling it in completely. So this is going to be basically defining everything, bringing out all those details. So not such a big deal with the eyes because, again, we're just fully filling them in. Same thing with the nose hole. But these other lines, I want to make sure I keep them light and thin. The lighter you press, the thinner you get. So I may need to come back and lighten some of these areas where I'm pushing too hard. And if you're really good, I will say, if your name is Matt and you know who I'm talking about, you could probably just skip all the previous steps and go straight to this. I've seen your artwork. But for the rest of us, this will work. And like I said, I have never drawn a skull in my life, so if I can make it this way, you can do it too. Important thing, paint bravely. And if you get scared once in a while, that's okay. Just don't let it hold you back forever. And if you want the tattoo to be more shaded or less shaded, you can control that. You know those steps. You can go back to any step. You can go forward. It's completely up to you. You're in control. You can do cartoonish figures. You can do realistic figures. You can do whatever you want. All right. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up off screen. Pretty much at this point, it is just going to be maybe some touch-ups and finishing up that fire and all of that stuff. Okay, hey painting pals, I finally got this back to where I'm actually happy with it. Once again, remember, this is my first time ever painting a skull or drawing a skull or having anything to do with a skull. So I think that's not too shabby. I'm gonna take that as a win. But we are not finished yet because now we have to establish the shadows and highlights. This is going to be way easier than you think. I know you guys are going, what the heck? What are you possibly going to do to change that without ruining it? Well, the answer is our good old friend, the glaze. So I'm taking my shadow color and I'm glazing it back where it belongs, all those fun places it belongs. And yes, if that goes over the tattoo, that's fine, because that part is in shadow. Then we're going to take our highlight, which I actually need to pour more of. Let me do that real quick. And then I'm going to turn that into a glaze as well. Let me mix up my glaze of that. And same thing, we're going to put that highlight in here. And I'm glazing it over the whole thing so that we get our highlight and our tattoo is highlighted at the same time. So that way it reads as a solid part of the figure, a solid part of the character. Now I do also need to glaze a little bit of the mid-tone back in, just because the glaze I used in mine is a little bit, when I did the skin tone, I did a glaze of a slightly different shade than the actual skin tone, which is why you still see it doesn't actually match up perfectly in some areas, but that's okay. And by glazing it this way, see, as tattoos fade, they do start to kind of fade into the skin a little bit. They're not as bright later on. Adding this glaze in here will do good with that, and will also help me get that waterline, edge line from the highlight glaze. And I can kind of go back and forth with those and work them in. So I've got the highlight and the mid-tone and the shadow. Get rid of all those harsh lines. And there we go. So now we've got, so you can see some highlighting here. There's a little bit of a shade here and even coming down here. But the blend is pretty nice. It's the same as everywhere else. so it matches with the rest of the skin tone, but now we have a cool skull tattoo on it. That is it for this tutorial. And now, Taylor, I don't know who's going to be editing. Oh no. But if our fantastic editor would take us over to the final photos, you can see all of his glorious details. And at this point, of course, you guys know what's coming next. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching. Really appreciate you guys sticking through me on this one, especially since I've never done this exact, like I said, never did a skull before. So I've done tattoos, but not this particular one. So thanks for bearing with me on it while I figured that out. I hope you enjoyed the journey, and I hope you're going to give this a try yourself. Give your models some more character, bring them to life. Think about who they are, and let's put that into our minis and make sure that they really stand out and wow. And if you don't want to, that's okay. I understand. Like I said, I've chickened out before. You're not going to improve if you stay chickened out. But if you don't want to improve, then you don't have to. You're all good anyway. It does not really matter. What matters most is that you're having fun and enjoying everything. With that said, a big special thank you to our patrons. You know I can't forget. I absolutely adore you guys. You guys help us out so much with the channel and with our community. You guys are so fantastic, and I really can't tell you how much we appreciate you. We absolutely love you. And until next time, have fun and keep creating.